How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Just in Our Minds. And I have a special guest today. He's actually one of the reasons why, or the main reason why we have this podcast studio. He's who does everything behind the scenes. He's a videographer, photographer, and he also is our creative director and producer, Travis Carter. Today, we had a guest that wasn't able to make it. But on top of that, I wanted to do this as an opportunity for us to be able to meet Travis. Some of us know Travis already, but others don't. He has a cool story too, and I love hearing how him and his wife got things together and kind of leaned towards the idea of, did you start in sales?
I've kind of done a lot of different things. I worked for like tech startup companies, kind of doing like onboard training and stuff like that. We then later went to Hawaii. We lived in Hawaii for a year on like this contract of selling bed sheets, essentially, bamboo clothing and things like that. So we lived in Hawaii. And then we kind of just started doing, I've done video stuff for, I think I got my first camera when I was like 11, and we still have all of our cameras. We have them up on like a shelf. And my wife actually kind of the same thing. She grew up literally just like taking pictures of herself all the time, camera when she was young. And so a lot of snowboarding videos of when I was a kid, just random things. So I've always kind of been into video. It's just, it's just finally taking that jump and actually doing it but it's been a lot of fun. We've done lots of weddings, worked with lots of different companies. We've traveled all over the place. And so, yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. So like you said, at 11, that's when you first started taking pictures and whatnot. I guess we didn't really have access to a ton of cameras.
Not
Not
really.
like we do now.
Yeah,
where you just pull out your phone.
Very basic camera, and I remember it took me a long time to figure out how to upload something to YouTube back in the day. It was just one of those things where it, wasn't caught up with the times. And
and the uploading process was like a long time. It's like thinking about say if you're in a bad reception area, and as long as it takes, I laughed because I was like, dude, a video used to take I feel like it used to take 15 minutes.
Oh yeah. It would take, I remember sitting there for hours, trying to get it to upload, and we thought we had everything right. And then, it finally is done uploading, and we look at it, and it's just like black, and we're like, oh, cool.
Awesome. Thanks.
Figure out how to start this
it's all
over.
grainy or something.
It was literally like when we were in middle school, trying to figure out how to upload to YouTube, Googling how to upload to YouTube. It's so funny.
Yeah, I guess for me too is in middle schools when YouTube came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I
remember my
big.
friend. Yeah, because I was in middle school. What was that 2000? Sorry, high school was 2007. So 654. Yeah, early 2000s. Because I think I was in 7th grade when 9/11 happened.
Yeah,
in 99.
Yeah,
no, that doesn't make sense.
2001.
Was that 2000? So 99 elementary school. Yeah, 7th grade. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
but yeah, no, it's things have changed. Everything's changed with video. All these companies, this was several years ago, but 98% of companies use video or photo in some sort of way. Mm-hmm. And so, there's need for videographers, people to come into these companies and kind of take that over. Because a lot of people, they start these businesses. Because I've worked with companies that you wouldn't expect, they have a video guy. It's like pest control companies and door-to-door sales companies, and they want they have their sales, they're good at what they do, but then they just kind of lack that creative ability. And so that's where
it's like a connection, right?
Yeah,
being able to connect with your audience.
Yeah,
it's interesting too to see the younger and younger dynamics too of how young some of these creative influencer online or videographers now, some of them Felicia's son, did you see some of his stuff? He does pretty well, and he's in high school.
I don't think
I'll send you some of his stuff, but yeah, he I forget what it's called, where you can the fade outs and stuff like that, where he just self-taught, I guess.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing about nowadays is you can do it on your phone. Everybody's got the ability to do it now. Everybody's got a phone, and so now all it is just it used to be, I used to say it was getting good at photography and video was 50% your gear and then 50% you, because, you know, you can try shooting a wedding on like a little point and click camera, but you're probably not going to get the results you want. You know what I mean? And so having a nice camera is good, knowing how to use it and all that kind of stuff. But now, I mean, everybody's phone has a great camera on it, and there's apps that can make it even better. And so, yeah, there's a lot of people who are just doing stuff on their phone, and that's how they're getting their start nowadays. And must be nice.
Yeah, right. But then there's going to be those trial and error areas where maybe they're not so confident because they were able to. Sorry, there's like a random long hair on me. I don't know where that came from. I was like, that's not from us. I'm like,
Serba.
Yeah, Serba or maybe Felicia or somebody. But I lost my train of thought there for a second. But what are some of the trials and tribulations you went through, like from the beginning when you started, maybe through pest control, things like that? Like maybe we could speak of some of those step by step.
I would say knowing like the audience and kind of getting integrated with the company, you know, and understanding who their demographic is, what they want to do. Specifically with these pest control companies, I was doing a lot of their training platforms. And I've never done door-to-door sales. And so it was like I was having to learn, you know, all the different techniques and everything to do, and then put it into a training platform and you know, have it be something that's good, have it be something they want to show all their new recruits and things like that. And so, yeah, I would just say it's you know, figuring out what the company wants, first of all, figuring out their demographic, and then usually I just kind of am allowed creative freedom for the most part, you know, stay within certain brand guidelines, but they just, So a lot of companies, I would say, just figuring out who they are.
Did you do videography in high school or anything like that?
No, I mean, just for fun, lots of snowboarding videos, well, that's not true. They would have like these school projects and things like that. So there was like a Spanish class that we did this video in Spanish, and they, for years, and I ran into that Spanish teacher not that long ago, and he was like, yeah, they still show that video as like one of the examples of it. And it's like, it's just such a dumb video because we were just coming up with like funny, stupid skits to do essentially. And they also would have like a scary movie contest every year. And I love horror movies. That's like been always throughout my whole life. I've loved, even as a kid, all the scary movies, even like the B-list horror movies. Like,
oh, really? I feel like sometimes those are better.
Oh,
like,
yeah, dude.
I used to love, like, was it Leprechaun and some of those funny ones?
Leprechaun in the Hood. Yeah. There's Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That was like always a favorite of mine. And so, I've just always been into movies. And so we would make horror movies every year. We'd come to my house and we'd, you know, write down all of our scripts and ideas and stuff like that and come up with short horror movies. And we'd win like every year, every single year. And so, we did a lot of fun projects and just random things, but, you know, that was all on cheap cameras and camcorders and things like that, which is kind of cool now. Of course, that's coming back in now. So,
yep. I was going to say now that you got the Blair Witch style, right? That like very up close and like shaky-esque.
Yeah. That's exactly what it was. It's like we're like running through the woods and like, you know, doing funny stuff like that. So, I've always just it's always kind of been there. It's always been something fun. There's so many different, you know, ways to use it. Honestly, there's just so many different things. And that's like, I always want to try something. There's always something that I want to, you know, I've gone and done studio sessions with rappers. I've done like, you know, just anything. I think it's all interesting. So I just like to do it. Done a lot of politics and stuff like that. As insane as politics is, I've, you know, dove into that and did some media, and that's pretty eye-opening as well. But
I think that's where we met, was Bad Bet Studios.
I think so.
Yeah, it was when they had the debates and that's the summit.
Yeah, that's right.
When I met you.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, good old politics.
Trey
Valdez. Yep. And now we're here.
And now we're here.
We are, man.
Yeah, that was a connection for us too. Have you
awesome.
been down to his gym yet?
I haven't.
I think it opened yesterday.
Yeah, I've seen his stuff on social media about it opening up, but no, I haven't. I haven't been down to it yet.
I'm gonna see if they have an open mat this weekend. But
yeah.
Other than that, like, are there what things would you like to shoot? Like, are there things? I mean, I know we're talking about maybe like a documentary or things like that too, potentially.
Yeah. documentaries would be a lot of fun. That's, another thing I've always loved growing up. Back when documentaries weren't cool, you know what I mean? Now documentaries on Netflix are just as entertaining as any TV show they have. But, back in the day, it's just the boring World War II or, like just those documentaries. I always enjoyed
National
watching those.
Geographic or whatever, like the channels. That
Yeah. And so there's a couple documentaries when we got into politics, we talked about it, like a lot of corruption, organizations that are corrupt, different things. And, we talked about doing some documentaries about things like that. We had a journalist that was doing he did investigative journalism, and he actually's gotten himself into some trouble with the government. He had NSA following him around for years. Like he even moved to a different state, and the same NSA agent showed up at his church building and was like, "Hey man, just here to let you know," or in Target in another state, you just look at him and be like, "Hey," just let him know. Cause he blew up the story. This is before Edward Snowden was he came out and talked about the NSA spying on you. He broke a story that UVU was using the aviation department to gather data for the NSA, that new NSA in Bluffdale that had just popped up at the time. And so he was actually writing for the school, and he blew up that story, and they followed him around for a while. Gosh. And so I was like, that sounds like
that's crazy.
Fun.
Dude. Yeah, it's fun, but then it's at the same time. It's like with Joe Rogan being open about it now. He's like, anybody that knows me or comes on my show, be prepared to have your phone tapped.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's one of those things, you think of, but you don't think of. And then when it happens, then you're really I can only imagine being on that level and
dude, that's crazy. I know, even I was like, man, how weird would it be just to have somebody following you, knowing for sure, because they had pulled his email that he wrote about the story, and they were quoting his email word for word and being like, "You need to stop this."
And then even Signal and these encrypted apps and stuff, they're not actually encrypted. No. People can get through them if they want to, if they're that high in the government.
Yeah, they'll always find it.
Yeah, that stuff's so wild.
Well, I mean, if they want to find it, they'll find it, right?
Yeah.
If they want to find things in our government, they will. If they don't want them to be found, then they won't find them.
But you're saying maybe you want to do a documentary enough to get you followed for a week or two.
Yeah, exactly. Just something to, get the NSA on my tail. Let them know I'm here.
Bit. Yeah. They invite them over for dinner.
Yeah,
why not?
They pretty much ignore me right now. So why, I'm doing cool stuff. Follow me around.
Yeah.
Then
you'll actually be able to get through to the different departments. So they got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Just go outside and be like, hey, I'm trying to get through to the IRS. You guys got a connection?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. No, that would have been really nice. I had some problem with we filed something wrong with our taxes this year, and it was just one little mistake. All they had to do was fix one little thing. I was on the phone with the IRS for weeks, and I was like, you know what? Send somebody out, man. I need to talk to you, so maybe he can do it,
Yeah, just bring him out here. Have him check over our stuff.
Yeah, have him come do it. I'm going to make him sit at my desk and do all my taxes for me if he shows up. So
yeah, there you go.
So
here's all our stuff. Here's all our receipts.
Yeah.
Sorry, these have ketchup on them.
Yeah. You do it.
Yeah, that was a. So what would you say is? You could say top three. What are your top three most? I guess the projects, we'll do this. What are the top three hardest projects you've worked on, most complicated? You don't have to give names or anything like that if you don't want to throw anybody out there. Also, because you've mentioned some to me, working with different egos and different things like that too can be hard. And then your top three most passion projects that brought you the most joy or the most, and then you can go into each one of these as deep as you want,
Right. Working with sales companies and things like that, there's been some like you said, egos that get in the way. You know what I mean? You sit down, you have an idea for something, and then somebody comes in there and they're like, no. And they, there was a specific training that we had to do. And, we have all these things set and everything. And then, a certain manager came in and was like, I don't like any of this. And he knows really nothing about video. And so it was just like, there's certain things that have to be a certain way. There's certain, the audio, the mics, the cameras, all these things. There's a lot of moving parts to a lot of these things. And, they would just come in and be like, we don't like this. We don't like this. And I'm like, well, let me explain to you why. You know what I mean? Let me explain why
hear
this
the conviction
is. Yeah.
too.
And I'm like, come on, like you just gotta just hear me out on this. With that same company, the hardest thing I kind of like, because they're a door-to-door company. They were, if you want more, you go knock the door, right? That's their like work hard. And so they would, and in my job's a little different, right? Like I would shoot stuff, and then if I don't have time to edit anything, like that's that, you know what I mean? And so he was trying to get a lot of footage of just like himself and things like that on like trips. And so I was out there doing trips with him, and it was just like, it was constantly filming just like dumb stuff and then driving other places and doing random stuff. And it was just like, okay, I need to be able to like actually do my job. I need to be able to have that time to sit down at my laptop and export everything and get it all in there, edit it, do everything you need to do. And so a lot of it's just kind of like misunderstanding what the job is. A lot of people think once I'm done with the camera, I filmed it. And that's really easy for people to, to see it like that, because you are with a guy, he comes, he films it, and then you never see it again until it's a finished product. And so it's kind of hard for people to understand, like, oh, shooting is probably 30% of the work, you know what I mean? And then the rest is going to be happening behind the scenes, either pre-production or post-production. And so that's kind of the hardest part, is that people think it's done once you're done shooting.
And that's probably the easiest part, right? Or maybe not easy, it's a bad term, but it's like the least time consuming.
Right. Yeah. If you're well prepared, it's not super time consuming. I mean, there's setup and all kinds of things, but,
because then you have hours and hours and hours of editing, or usually, right?
Yeah.
Depending on how long, right? I'm sure there's a lot of variables there. But.
Yeah. And sometimes there's things that, like, and I love editing videos, but there's certain projects that just like it's hard to find passion for. Like, for example, like a sexual harassment training video is like, how do you get like super pumped up about making a sexual harassment training video?
We're not going to touch people.
Yeah, it's literally like what to do if you, in like the situations where like, some guy walks in and says this to Jane, and this, where did he go wrong? It's like, dude, this is so bad.
Like, I'm going to have to zoom in on his hand here where he's near the no square. Like, so we really get a good visual here.
Like these little, like, it was basically like animated figures, and it was so stupid. It was so dumb.
It's like, no, stop.
Yeah.
Don't.
It's like in the words, and we had to, like, the guy who's doing all the voiceovers just couldn't use Trey. Trey was trying to like say the words that you're not supposed to say, and we couldn't keep it together. So there's like a million takes of us just laughing, because they're like, you're not supposed to call him. Tootsie was one of them. Like, Tootsie is like a word you're supposed to keep out of the workplace. So good to know, I guess, But so yeah, there's certain projects that are just kind of, very corporate, kind of hard to find a ton of passion, because there's just not a lot of creativity involved. It's very straightforward. It's this, it's this, it's this. And so yeah, those are kind of the real struggle parts of it.
It blows my mind when artists are curbed, like their creativity is curbed. Like you have these people, same with like Landon, other tattoo artists and different people. They're like, this is what I want. And like, even with me, I'm like, oh, what about this? He's like, that's a cool idea, but that's not going to work. Yeah. And then you have to be okay with that. Like, I'll bring up stuff to you, but there's the creative flow that I personally love to give somebody, because I feel like that's where the best work comes out of. You know? And I don't get how people can't see that. But I guess some people have just that's why they're business owners and or this, and they're good with making money. It's just because they have their fingers in their ears and just the la 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 la.
Yeah. And there's a lot of it, kind of like you said, they know what they want, and you have to be able to like take no, you know what I mean? Because that, like I was saying before, figuring out what a company wants and figuring out. So a lot of times, especially with one of the pest control companies I worked with, they were very like kind of family friendly, kind of that old school, is more geared towards like parents, and then I'm, I've kind of made edgier, grungier videos and have cooler edits and stuff like that. And so that was kind of tough as well, as being like, no, it has to be this color of baby blue, and it has to do this, and it has to be this, and you have to cut this out and do this. And so it's like, dang, that sucks. Like, I know this could be so much cooler.
Yeah.
But they're just kind of.
And then you make it that version, and they're like, well, that didn't hit the way else. And you just.
Yeah. I'm like, well.
They would have. They would have.
Yeah,
They let me pick the hues and all this stuff, and baby blue wasn't the color for this one.
Yeah. No, it was for all of them, actually.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. But, yeah, so some of the projects I've been really passionate about. I mean, I love doing podcasts just because I think it's so interesting. I've been a part of a lot of different like podcast interviews that are very, very interesting.
It's always fun to see you look over and you're like,
yeah, I know.
It's like a blessing. You just get to, when do you ever get to sit in a room, no distractions?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for you might have a couple, but, and just be able to listen in or talk in a conversation that's like eyes on eyes. Like that's such a blessing to have nowadays.
Yeah. And it's, and a lot of people we have on have really cool stories. We've done like people who've had books that have turned into movies that have, been in theaters. We've had some of these guys in there and old war veterans that tell us crazy stories. We've had, the one that you did, I guess we've done him on a couple podcasts, but Patrick Odell. Yeah. I mean, anytime I can sit down with that guy and hear his stories, that's always amazing.
You just gotta turn up the mic.
Yeah,
I know.
So,
I'm this guy.
And so, yeah, no, he's super cool. But I would say that's kind of why I wanted to start doing podcasts, is because I just think the stories and the people, it's so interesting. And I think this is kind of the new media. This is how things are going. I think people are starting to really not trust media anymore. We're all kind of like opening our eyes to it and being like, oh, it's all just kind of been lies. And so I think this new form of media, this new way that people are kind of getting the news, kind of getting updated on what's going on, I think it's kind of an interesting,
it's great,
like bump that's happening in society.
Well, and even me with, like with the whole Charlie Kirk thing and everything else, like Gunner, I hit him up right afterwards and I was like, hey dude, let's get you on.
Yeah.
Just cause I know you knew him, and that whole, I just want to get different perspectives on those kind of things. And then and it's cool too to see people now like messaging, and like the screenshot I sent you, it's just like, hey, this is very impactful for me.
Yeah.
Or the guests too that love it. They always are grateful. It's cool to have people like, I think one of my favorite guests that we've had, they're all great, but it was like people like Robbie that just didn't know how much people love him. And then being able to get a word out there. Yeah, I mean, Patrick and everybody else is powerful stuff,
right?
But also being able to have the platform or creating an opportunity for people to see just how much they impact other people or whatever that is, to get their story out there.
And that's a nice thing about these podcasts too, is because, there are certain people that, not that they have a hard time reaching an audience, but just more eyes on them. And it's like the more people that can see Zeph, the more people that can see Felicia, like the better it's going to be. They're going to be helping people. And so I just think it's kind of cool to help, boost some of these platforms and have some of these tough conversations sometimes, but I think they're pretty cool.
Are there any podcasts that you would like to see on, or like types of podcasts that we haven't done yet?
On this show, on your show,
any show. But I mean, my show, Trey's, whoever's.
Yeah. I'd love to do a comedy podcast.
Oh yeah,
I would love to do a comedy podcast. That would be a lot of fun. So if any comedians want to hit up the studio, feel free. But comedy podcast would be a lot of fun. I think I do like political stuff. I worked on a political campaign, and I made a lot of connections in the political world, and there's a lot of interesting things, because that's one area. I know it's kind of boring in a lot of areas, but it's just people just don't know. And so something that kind of dives into like more than just like, this is what these people are saying about it. But like, this is what it actually is. Here's some facts. Here's this bill that everyone's talking about. Here's what it actually says. Yep. You know what I mean? Something like that that's more informative.
All the bullshit that's in these bills that they try to slide through.
Yeah, exactly. these multi, bills should have one thing on them, in my opinion. But all these bills that get passed with all these other things, and people
all
have
these
to
cute little names.
compromise and do
The
this
Farmers
and
Act,
that.
blah, blah, blah.
Dude, it's so obnoxious. And so I would love to see that, just because I think it would be really helpful. I mean, it would interest me. I don't know how many people would really, be interested in it, but I think it'd be very helpful.
And sometimes too, that's the cool thing about like filming a podcast and then having clips. Because most people can handle 15 to 33 seconds or whatever,
Right.
They're pushing now. And that way, because there's a lot of things like, even with, like, don't get me wrong, I love learning new things, but yeah, you're sitting there like a C-SPAN hour and a half type of deal, like it can get a little mundane,
Right.
But being able to get these clips out, or being able to go back to a podcast or whatever that is and learn over time for politics or nutrition or whatever, these things that could be just textbook boring in some aspects, but they are that way too. More eyes are on them. Maybe it'll drive new traffic there as well. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. No, it's podcasting's been a lot of fun. Started out doing it in my basement and just having people come over to my house and do that. And that was kind of fun for a little bit. But wedding videos, we've done a lot of wedding videos, and that's another way that you can also meet a lot of really cool people. We tapped into a little bit of like kind of high-end weddings. So like certain, people that usually have a pretty big budget on their wedding, and those are a lot of fun because they go all out. And we've traveled all over the world doing lots of fun weddings, met a lot of cool people. Met Tim Tebow one time at a wedding. That was pretty cool. But yeah, so weddings are fun. They're very stressful. I mean, that's one of those things where you get one shot, one day. That's it. No reshoots. That's all you got.
Not to mention, I'm sure there's some of the bridezillas and the moms and the dads and the whoever.
Yes.
So you're getting either the best or the worst. You're getting the best shots, but the worst side of people. Right?
Yeah.
And the weather and everything else.
Me and my wife have thought about just like starting a podcast where we just air out all kinds of crazy stuff that we've experienced in the photography world.
That'd be fun.
That's photographers to weddings to, all of it. We just thought like, I think it would, because we've dealt with a lot of people, worked with a lot of different photographers as well. And, some great experiences and some less than great experiences.
Yeah, exactly. It makes those good ones that much more digestible.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I think, it's just, finding what you want to do, you know what I mean? Finding what, and there's obviously going to be times you're not going to have everything you want to do. You know what I mean? There are going to be those projects that do suck and do kind of seem like a drag or whatever, but it's kind of finding the passion in all of those projects. It's finding something, adding a little something or doing something, just making it so you kind of find that passion even when it's not there. It's kind of like motivation. You know what I mean? Like you said, you're not always going to be motivated. You're not always going to want to get up and get out of bed, but it's like you have to kind of dig deep and find that sometimes. And
yeah, and finding the silver lining, right? Because these shitty situations or these less than great, but still opportunities, then you start navigating down these waters a little bit deeper, and then it makes sense. It's like a puzzle piece that comes together later. Like you have these hard weddings, or not like you said, working with some tech companies or sales companies or whoever, and it's just not what you want it to be. And then a year later, you're like, man, if I wouldn't have went through this, I wouldn't have found this way of shooting or this, or I wouldn't have adjusted it this way, and it wouldn't have helped with this. You know?
Yeah. And that's the thing, always learning, always, you know what I mean? And like you're saying, it's as you look back on things, there's been a lot of times where I'm just like, I'm going to do this random video. One example is Trey, how I first met Trey, and then started working at Moxie Pest Control. He was a model, him and his wife, they had done some modeling, and I think my wife had done like a shoot with them before, but I had never met them. And so it was around Halloween time, and I like American Horror Story. Have you seen American Horror Story?
The first one, yeah.
Yeah. So you know the intro, how the intro is like super weird.
That long thing.
So I was like, I want to do, just for fun, go up one night and bring like a big light, shoot it at night, and do like this American Horror Story style video just for fun, you know. It's just, and so we were like, grab Trey and his wife Meg, went up there and did that video for Trey, and he was like, dude, like, we need a video guy. We had just kind of lost our video guy and we're looking for somebody to hire. So why don't you come in? And I worked with that company for 5 years. And it was all because I was just like, I'm going to go, you know what I mean? And that's like, oh, extra work for myself. Now I got to edit this video that I'm not going to get paid for. Mm-hmm. It's just a fun whatever, blah,
it's
blah,
all
blah.
Perspective, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, oh my gosh.
We're out late, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then, it opens that door. But it also, it's almost like, I'd say some of those are like a form of meditation. Like, you know, once you get it done and it turns out the way you were hoping for or better.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're like, oh yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Gives you.
And yeah, that'll happen all the time. Like, I just like to, you know, go, even if my wife just has like a shoot she's doing for fun, I'll try to go and fly the drone or do something. And I was just a couple weeks ago, just like flying the drone around at Stanberry Island. It's like the pink water that's out there in Utah.
Okay.
And anyway, we were flying the drone and I was just getting like, so I was like, I'm just going to take some pictures of like directly overhead, direct down at people. And they actually turned out really, really cool. And the girl who, like, you know, she was there, her and my wife were just doing pictures, but she was like, I want those pictures. Those are so cool. And so I was like, yeah, it's kind of fun to just kind of, you know, find something that's fun, do something fun once in a while. And most of the times something comes from it, you know, and that's kind of a lot of the business advice I give people is like, it's opportunity is going to be everywhere. You're just going to have to kind of make that connection.
I use the analogy of like, you can't catch a wave unless you're in the water.
Yeah,
exactly. And you might be paddling back and forth or just sitting on your board waiting for something. But then when that wave comes in, it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're either on the land watching and then talking about catching waves, or you're actually out there trying to figure it out. You know?
Yeah. And that's, you know, I'm self-taught. I learn all the time, every week. I'm constantly, you know, learning something new edit, new, you know, photo editing, new this, new that. And so, and I know you talk about that a lot, like just always being the student. Like, you know, I'm always just trying to, like, I always feel like the student. I guess that could be some of this imposter syndrome that a lot of us have, but I'm always like, you know, I always have something to learn. I need to learn something from somebody else. I want to, you know, figure out how they do this. I want this thing. And so, you know, and that's a good way to get, you know, business as well. It's a good way. And 100%. So you're just always trying to learn from different people, and that goes a long way, especially in this business. So,
oh, dude, yeah, hands down. I feel like apparently wanting to make money, but also like doing things for the love of the thing, is it puts you in a different category a lot of the time, and people can feel and see that. You know, it's not so. When money's in play with a lot of people and things, is like things can get cynical and dark. And like one of the things that a lot of people say when they're like, "Man, I love Travis," you know, like it's just you bring a different energy, and you're not like some videographers and stuff can get pretty stressed really quick, and you know, it's like you see that, and like so it's cool to see that you're always like or trying to find a creative flow. We have hard days, you know, you picking up your car, you're not sure what's happening, and
all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, one of the most business I've gotten is just from being nice to people. I know that sounds like I'm like talking to kindergartners, like just be nice. You know what I mean? It's like your business advice, but.
Well, I think it's being kind, because you also, you have boundaries.
Yeah.
Because being nice, you get walked on.
That's true.
Over.
Very true.
You're kind and genuine.
And so that's like, you know, there's been so many times where it's like, oh, hey, you know, buy somebody lunch, or buy somebody, you know, a drink, or, you know, spend time with them. And that's kind of what me and my wife are actually known for, because we'd go on a lot of trips with a lot of these, you know, companies and go travel. And they'd always be like, we'll always lose track of you guys. And then we'll find you like in the pool chatting with like an elderly couple for like an hour and a half. And I'm just like, yeah, I like talking to people. I like hearing what people have to say, to be honest. And so that's how I've gotten most of my business. It's just like, you just be kind to people. You just let them know you're genuine, and they're going to be attracted to that. And so that's how I've gotten a lot of my business. Just be kind.
That was a big factor. I forget the yellow book with, I want to say red letters. I forget the name of it. It's like 100 ways of how to like make people, or like like
I think like How to Win Friends and Influence People. That
maybe,
book?
yeah. I
Okay.
read in Yellow Book, something like that.
Mhm.
I read it a couple of years ago, but it talks about
Yeah.
that. Like, listen to people and hear their story. Like,
Right.
and then that's how you can make great business connections. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
unintentionally. Like, apparently, you just want to hear their story. Same with me. That's why I like doing this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
'cause just sitting here a lot of the time, I'm like, man, this is so cool that I get to be here in person. Because I'm sure we both listen to podcasts and things
Yeah.
anyway. So it's just like, wow, it's so cool to. And then giving. Apparently, we're circling back to giving people a platform, but like, yeah, just being able to like. And some people they're so grateful for somebody to listen to them.
Mhm.
Like an elderly couple, like
For sure.
who else are they going to get their stories out to?
Yeah.
Like especially sitting by a pool.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where you're going to find the most interesting stories. That's where you're going to, we traveled the world. We've been to like 20 something different countries, and we'd always try to, we had our cameras with us when we were traveling. And so we'd always try to find somebody in that area to take photos. One time in Italy, we just found a random girl who was on the road and took pictures of her, and same thing in like Greece and stuff like that. And we were able to experience so many cool local things because we found that connection. Iceland, same thing. We had this girl who we reached out to her and she wanted to do a photo shoot, and she took us around for like the whole week we were there, showed us all the cool spots, showed us everything. And it was like having our own personal friend that was taking us everywhere.
And the
it's like,
spots that most people don't get to see. That
Yeah.
happened to me in Hawaii because it was for a wedding, and then we still had like, it wasn't for photography, but there was half a keg left.
yeah,
And we just gave it to some of the locals, and we were like, yeah, we're going out here. They're like, don't go there. This is where you want to go, and we'll meet you there, because usually it's only locals, but we'll meet you there. It was like this cool, but it was in Kona, and it was just this awesome, amazing beach that was off on the other side that wasn't on any maps or anything like that. And they told us too, it was like, oh, this is when all the turtles come in. So it was just like a bunch of turtles. It was the same concept. It was just cool to see. And then from then on, they just would text me and tell us where to go. And it just, that was the first time I've experienced like really digging into the local culture of something, and just being a nice person.
Yeah, for sure. Dude, Hawaii is so great. It's like you can find the best communities in Hawaii. And, sometimes there's these people who, if you live there and you're not Hawaiian, sometimes they get a little bothered by that. But like if you find your community and find, but that you're going to find crappy people everywhere.
Yeah. I always just poke fun of myself. I'm like, oh, just living that Howley life. So they like automatically kind of poke at yourself. And they're like, he gets it. Never mind.
Yeah. No, if you're willing to poke fun at yourself, they'll get it. But
it's all respect, right? Across anywhere in the world. But yeah, if you try to listen and try to understand where people are coming from, then you'll get the best, the best fruit, the best experience, the best life.
Yeah. And there were so many, part of my job was kind of working with some of the local businesses around there. So that did help. But yeah, I had like some of the coolest connections and met some of the coolest people. We had this program at the local gym that was like right across the street from where I was. And so we sell some of their stuff, advertise their business, and they sold some of our stuff. And then, I could go work out there for free, and the owner was way cool. And I'd go in there and he'd be like, try this new pre-workout, and just like mix me up a bunch of stuff. And so, lots of local fruit, lots of, we actually we're not like LDS. We're not practicing LDS, I guess, inactive, whatever you want to call it. But when we were out there, the church members came by and, invited us to all kinds of things. And that was kind of cool. It was a little bit different than in Utah. There's so many, it's just kind of hard. You fall through the cracks sometimes, but out there where it's just, it's kind of a smaller community. And that was a lot of fun. We were like, hey, we don't really go to church, but we love, all of you guys. And so we'd go to like the family home evening things that they would do. They actually had us start running it after a little bit. They were just like, why don't you guys kind of organize some of this stuff? And so on Mondays we'd go and everybody would gather on the beach, and it was like a potluck, and it's just like, it was fun. It's just community, you know what I mean? Which is something that we had moved away from. We moved out to Hawaii and didn't know anybody working with all these businesses and stuff like that. So it's just nice to find that community, and I think you need that everywhere.
Which island were you on?
We lived on Kauai. Maybe a little biased, but I think it's the best island, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's best for you, right?
Yeah. No, I love hiking, you know what I mean? And that's the thing about I mean, pretty much all the islands there's an endless amount of hikes that you can go
Yeah.
on. And so
Jungle's a
that's
different thing. Like, it's so cool. We
Yeah.
zip lined through the jungle in Kona, and that was crazy.
Yeah.
You start at like the banana plantations.
Yeah.
It's the first time I've had a real banana too. Like the ones with the bigger seeds that are smaller.
Yeah.
They're just funny. I was already like, you're like, oh, by the way, like after I ate my first one, you can have some of the bananas. I was like, oh, good,
Yeah.
because I was dying.
Dude, the fruit out there.
We're
The fruit out there is unreal, man. Just like the mangoes, you know, our neighbor had a mango tree, and so we'd always get these mangoes. The lychee, like everything is just, you know, we would stop. There's all kinds of little places, people that are selling it on the side of the road. And
It's cool to
just
see all the lizards and everything everywhere too.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
wild.
dude,
And
always in our
gnolls and-
store.
yeah.
And they have these cane spiders that are like this big, and they're terrifying. They're fast too. It's nasty. But yeah, man, loved Hawaii. Loved Hawaii. Don't know why I moved back, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where we always talk about it. We're like, why did we decide to move back? Like, we were gonna stay out there for a while, and then we came back. It gets a little small. The island gets a little small when you're living there.
Yeah.
There's just
What landlocked? Or no, what's that? It's not landlocked, is it?
it's I mean, it's tiny island. There's
guess
just
is
not
it
much there.
landlocked? Landlocked, I thought. No, there's another term. There's a term for that. Like to be out on, it's like the stuck on an island.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
term
yeah.
for that.
And it really was like, you know, I think it was tough for my wife. You know, she is a lot closer with her family, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of hard that we found that community. But then also she likes to shop at a mall and do things that just aren't out there. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like there's a mall, but you know, it's the same surf shops that are on the beach that are in the mall. And so, you know, it gets a little small after a while, but you know, I just got lost in hikes, and you know, anytime I wasn't working, I was off hiking, doing something, going to a waterfall.
Yeah.
and always hiking barefoot. That was the best.
Did
So,
you surf or anything out there?
I mean, I got on a board and I tried.
You're like,
Yeah. I mean, I grew up snowboarding. Snowboarding and surfing are very, very different. And snowboarding, same thing as like video. I started when I was 7 or 8 years old. They strapped me to a snowboard and just said, good luck. And so I've been snowboarding, got pretty good at it in my high school days and stuff like that. And dude, it's so different. You have so much control on a snowboard. Strapped in, the board's part of you. You know what I mean? But then you get out on a
surfboard. With the
surfboard.
back, and then the way surfboard
Yeah.
is. The
Yeah,
lean.
yeah. And so on a surfboard, it's just the ocean has control. It's the ocean, and
Yeah.
it's like riding a bull, man. Like you don't have the control; you're just there for the ride.
Hoping for the best and trying to maneuver.
Yeah,
Did you ride
exactly.
a longboard?
yeah, just
Yeah,
like the
it's
long
easier.
Costco
Yeah.
surfboards.
Yeah, there's the easiest thing. The first time I ever ridden was a shortboard. I ate shit. I
Yeah.
got up, but it was like, ugh.
dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and I love watching surfing. You know what I mean? I love like the surf competitions and stuff like that. But I'm just
Makes you
not a good surfer.
yeah, it makes you experience, or like makes you appreciate how much it takes to be capable of that.
For sure,
Because they
dude.
just fly, you know, see them hop out and freaking do 360s and
Yeah.
stuff. You're like, what the?
Dude, I remember like the first time getting on my board, paddling out there. Like by the time I was out there, because it was a ways out to the waves, I was like exhausted just from paddling out there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is like, so I literally sat on my board for like 10 minutes just trying to like compose myself before I even hit a wave.
You know, and then you stand up, you get mulled over like once or twice, and it's just like, you swim to the surface again. And you're like, this board's attached to me, but oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's been some pretty bad wipeouts, but
And in California, man, my part of California, the water's cold.
yeah.
On top of that. So
Yeah.
my friends would always want to go early morning.
Oh, dude.
So you have like a thicker wetsuit.
Oh, the
And like
wetsuit.
I'd be borrowing my buddies, and they didn't always fit the best. And like water gets in there easy.
Yeah,
and I'm
dude.
like, ugh.
It's crazy. But yeah, no, I love living in Hawaii. It was right after that we decided we were going to travel the world though. So we actually, instead of coming from Hawaii back to Utah, we went just the other way around the world and just spent a couple months just traveling. And that was probably like, it's very eye opening. You know what I mean? Very cool. We had so many cool places, but it was just kind of, and I love history. So it was very eye opening to kind of see a lot of these places in person.
And almost get to touch them or touch some of those areas. It's
Yeah,
wild.
yeah. And this was back when Airbnb was good.
Mm-hmm.
Now Airbnb, they just beat you over the head with fees or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think people are going back to hotels more. But back when Airbnb was a lot of fun and it was just kind of, staying in somebody's
hostel
guest
style
bedroom. Yeah. And so we did a lot of that. And that was a lot of fun because there was parts of our trip that we stayed with this couple in London, and the nicest couple ever. And our next plan was to go to Wales. And she's like, "Oh, I'm Welsh. There's nothing good over there. Let me tell you where to go." So we sat down with her, and she gave us like all these really cool. We went to Bath, this little town called Bath, and they have like these old baths. Like it's like this old Greek-looking city. It was really cool, and so it's just like getting to know the people, kind of seeing their day-to-day life, and kind of getting to live that experience as opposed to just being strictly a tourist, which we very much were tourists, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, you're like
It's cool to see the
family
lifestyle.
members because you got the right info. You go to the right people.
Yep.
And then not that anybody gets treated differently, but those are the people that are probably excited that there's some tourists.
Stayed in a it's definitely had to be haunted, but we stayed in this place in Italy, and it was just like an old rundown mill of some type that they turned into an Airbnb. And it was like a castle corridors and stuff like that.
Isn't
And
that
it was
wild?
crazy.
It's different, like the way the breeze flows through something like that. You're like, what?
Yeah. And there was like screaming coming from the hallways at night. So that wasn't that great. But
You're like, I love scary movies on TV.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a different thing.
I was telling my wife, I was like, I came from outside. Don't worry about it. And I'm just like,
you're like, but I'm turning on the camera.
Yeah,
we're gonna be here.
No,
You're just like, I'm so scared.
It's pretty crazy. Lots of crazy experiences out there. Lots of really cool people. It's just that's what we like to do. Me and my wife, we love to travel. We love to see different places. We're not the people that go to like the same place all the time. You know
Cruises
what I mean? Yeah. And I'm a little. I don't love cruises. It's too much. It's too fabricated. It's too. You know what I mean? It's like the fun and everything feels fabricated. It feels like I'm just being herded to the next fun thing.
It's like superficial.
And I don't like that. Yeah. I like to go places.
It doesn't
I like
tap
to
into
explore.
the real wanderlust.
Yeah.
Did you ever read The Alchemist?
I haven't.
Oh, dude, you got to read that book. You'll love it. It'll make sense. Yeah, it's basically a book about a kid that like is in one village and then gets to meet certain people without giving you too much. But basically, then he travels around, and like that's one of those books that gave me the wanderlust of wanting to like travel and experience things on my own. And that's the big difference too. Is like now you have not that you have to have experiences that are better than anybody else's or whatever, but you have these very personal experiences that only happen to a select few individuals. And I like that too. It's like when you're not like you have not somebody that's a tour guide, you have an individual that is somebody that doesn't do that all the time for people. Like it's cool then you'll get to experience these nooks and crannies of different places.
Right. Yeah. No, that was the best part of traveling, honestly, was just like finding the cool spots and doing that kind of thing. It seems kind of selfish in a way, but I never wanted to be like boring. You know what I mean? I never wanted to be like, oh, this guy doesn't have anything, he's never done anything. You know what I mean? And there's those people that just like have never done anything. They've never traveled. They've never gone anywhere. And I wanted to like,
where are you from? Here.
Yeah. And so it's just like, I wanted to be able to talk to people. And that's what kind of why I do like talking to people is I just like hearing stories, telling stories and connecting with people. And when you've done things or traveled places and stuff like that, it's more than just like cool. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's so cool. We were here during this time and this and this. And so that's it's just kind of an aspect of traveling
that's what it is. Like I used to want to be a Renaissance man. It's not just that. It's like being aware, well-traveled, well-educated, and cultured. And that's not something that most people want to strive for.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us are very stuck, and this is in a lot of things. A lot of us are very stuck kind of in our culture and our ways and our
and it's so expensive
comfort.
get a house and all these things
Yeah.
that they don't have the opportunity of doing that. They don't, no one tells them you should go out on a few trips at a young
Right.
age or whatever, you know? So
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
then they have a house, they have kids, they have this, they have that. And then they have all these like, and then to travel with the whole family, it's like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a trip. So they could do it once a year. You know?
That is tough. Yeah. And that's why I'm glad we were able to do it when we were young. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who
And get paid to do some of them, right?
Yeah, and make a little money while we're there. But there's a lot of people who never get that opportunity to travel because, you know, they have kids and it's incredibly expensive to take kids on, you know, it's my wife, her family, some of them have like 6 or 7 kids. And so, you know, on a cruise, that's a lot of money to take a bunch of kids on a cruise,
100%.
you know what I mean? And so, I just feel really lucky. A lot of people, then they have to wait till they're older. And at that point, you know, I've traveled a little bit with like some of my grandparents, and it's a different type of travel, you know what I mean? And it's fun and it's great. And it's a lot slower than, you know, and so I'm just glad we were able to do it at a time that we could really take advantage of it. And yeah, I feel like in your 20s is a good time. If you have that opportunity, if you can go travel.
30s too, whenever you can do it.
Yeah.
Just get it in.
Get out
But
there.
yeah, your 20s and
learn
teens.
about the world.
My ex was, dude, she would go different places. And that's what, before and during we were dating, she just like, you've heard of wolfing? You've ever heard of wolfing? WOOFING. So you can like stay at different places. But
okay.
you just work on the farm. It's usually a lot of farms from around the world.
That's sweet.
So like you go out there and you help out on the farm, but you can stay for free technically.
Nice.
So then you go out there, you can do all these things. And she would do that here and there, like before we were dating, as we were friends, and like in between, like she'd go to like Australia or New Zealand or wherever. And then she'd be able to stay out there for a month. Like she'd save up for these trips and have enough and then come back, and then that would be the next trip.
Yeah.
You know, and she'd do 1 or 2 a year, and she was able to go a lot of places, Italy, Rome, you know, like these Europe, everywhere. Before she was even 21.
Yeah.
Or around maybe 25. We'll say 25, but
that'd be such an awesome way to also kind of see the culture.
yeah.
You know, like actually be working, have coworkers, have people that are probably from other places as well, and locals,
From
and
all over the world.
yeah.
And then that's how you'd meet certain people. And then that's how you met another guy and ended up going to a small village in France and lived out there for a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. There's just kind of crazy connections we have. It's kind of a obscure story, but we used to do like workshop. My wife called them like content days. So people would come from all over, and, you know, people would make connections there all the time. A lot of people, you know, launched their careers and stuff like that. And 2 of the girls that came, met each other, became good friends, ended up traveling together. While they were traveling, they met, I know I was talking to you about him, but Hosier, like the singer, he's like huge, has that Take Me to Church song, met him. And she actually ended up like dating him, and some of his songs are like about this girl.
Oh, damn.
And we were just kind of like talking about it. We're like, how funny is it that like some of Hosier's songs are in a really obscure way from us hosting that workshop content day and having those girls meet up there and then travel and meet him and start dating him. I was like, that's just crazy. Like the connections are just so wild. Like
You're like, that song's about us.
I was like, I kind of had a part in that, maybe.
Yeah.
Not really, but you
But
know.
you were the facilitator.
Yeah, I just thought it was really
For the
funny.
connection.
And I was like, connections are just, it's so crazy sometimes when you follow things back and figure out where things started and, you know, how they end up. It's really wild. So,
Yeah. And I think that's where people miss, you know, because joke, pun intended, but like we were talking about last time, the 90-degree angle is just being stuck in a cubicle, whether it's in here or physical or both.
yeah.
Like, get out, do something, explore some places.
For
Like,
sure.
We have to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, you know, and that's the thing with traveling. I think fun vacations are great. I've been to Disneyland. I've been to all-inclusive resorts and stuff like that, and those are great, but I think you should travel and learn some things. I feel like that's where we gain like empathy and understanding too. Like you start to understand other people, and you know, my brother, part of our traveling is we went to a couple places like in Asia and stuff. My brother lived in the Philippines, and so we went out and visited him, and that's like, you know, that'll totally change your perspective on a lot of things. Just seeing how some of the people live and, you know, how kind they are and, you know, how kind they are to you and stuff like that when they just really don't have a whole lot in the first place. And so that's another reason why I think people should go, because I think we gain, nowadays we seem pretty divided as a country, but if we had a little bit more understanding for other people and other cultures, and I think the best way to do that is to go experience it.
100%.
Go see how these people live, and you're going to see this is just, we're all just people, just in different circumstances.
A lot of them have so much less, but they have so much more.
Mm-hmm.
You look at these tribes in like Papua New Guinea and these other places, and they don't have a word for depression.
Yeah.
Like, it's not in their vocabulary. They don't understand the concept.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing close is like a loved one passed away or something.
Yeah.
There's no correlation. They just don't get it. They're like, what? You have all these things and
Yeah.
you're sad?
They just don't have the time to focus on it. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's where,
Being able to see real, not saying we don't have culture out here, but being able to see a real culture and family and like eons of people, like with like the old little blue zones in Italy and the Philippines and different places. It's just like families supporting families.
Mm-hmm.
And you have like you said, they'll give you, if they only have one handful of food, they'll offer half.
oh yeah, all the time.
All the time.
There's times where one time in Italy, we got in somewhere late and there weren't any taxis around. It's dark. We have no idea where we're going. And it's just like, shit, what do we do? And, some guy who's just got off duty driving his taxi, has his wife in the car and his kid in the back. And he stops and he's like, you guys look like you're lost. And I'm like, yeah, we're a little lost. Like, do you know where this is? And he kind of, looks at his wife and looks around. You could tell he's done for the day. And he's like, gosh, and so he's like, all right, get in. It's just up the road. And so we caught a ride with this guy. And there was just so many times where people they were nice to us. You know what I mean? I think sometimes we get this idea that people hate us and everybody hates everybody, but it's not really how it was. We found that people were very pleasant, staying in Airbnbs. Obviously they're not going to be terrible to you in an Airbnb, but you know what I mean? Like, people were just very kind, very open to us, and very, a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
I feel lucky too for people like ourselves, your wife. We have good energy too. So like, I think that helps. Like, so be a nicer human sometimes. Because I think that's a big part of it, is people are like so internally like broken that like it emanates out, and that's all you can ever see. Because I've played both sides of that coin. I've been an angry teen and 20-year-old, and I'm like, everything's against me. Why didn't I get this or to get that? And like, it's really hard to see that sometimes when you don't realize that's your force field you're creating. And like, but with y'all traveling, I'm sure you weren't. You're probably stressed, but like, that's just like a different thing, like being able to just be a good human.
Yeah.
I feel like that's missing in our culture.
There's good people everywhere. You know what I mean? You just got to find them. I think too often we spend too much time on social media where we see either the best of the best, people in their, fake best situation, or people in their worst situation. And so we never get this like understanding that most of us are just kind of somewhere in the middle. We're just, just trying to, have this realistic life, this reality, because not everything aren't how they are on social media. And so I think a lot of us are just kind of missing the fact that we're all more alike than we think.
100%.
You know what I mean?
And then, treat people like how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
And don't live a rented life. I mean, maybe do, but that's actually interesting that we could segue into this, is like with business and everything else. Like when I was running the 2 miles, the last of my workout today, and, it just like this, like, fake it till you make it culture, like there's a point to it. Like, start manifesting the life you want and doing these things. But there's just so many people that are living this very fake life. And it's, if that's what they want to do, cool, whatever, no judgment. I'll try not to judge people on those things, but it's so unauthentic, and they lose sight of who they are. And then, there's just meeting certain people, or like, because like last night I was just thinking about like, why do people care to dress so nice, or this or that? Like some of it is just like the art of what it is, but then other people, like, I just wonder what portion of that is like people that don't feel whole, so they need the materialism, the surface around that too,
Yeah, I think that's a big problem, is like people not feeling whole, not feeling like feeling like there's something more. Even I fall into it all the time. Where I'm just like, there needs to be more. I need to be doing something more. I need to be doing something else. I need to do this. And I think a lot, yeah, like I was saying, goes back to social media of just people who like they get this false idea of what reality is, and then they grow up with that. And we're lucky we didn't have to grow up with that. But now kids nowadays, I don't even know how kids do it nowadays. You know, constantly seeing the best of the best or the craziest of the craziest on social media, and then not like assimilating into that. Not like sliding into those.
And you see what's happening now. It's like the desensitization of culture. And I guarantee it's kind of like the guillotines in France in different things back then. They have public executions. Unfortunately, we had one recently. And like regardless of what side of what gang what set you claim, you know, it's like we're all humans, and now we're getting these weird spots, and dopamine's not enough, and you have these dull, like people just sitting on their phones or just living these lives that are just dull and mundane. Apparently that's the word of the day, and then you know, they're just living life through a screen.
Yeah, and that's, you know, and a lot of people, they going back to kind of that sense of community. People are going to find a community, and you know, there's bad communities out there. There's a lot of bad communities out there. But if a kid maybe doesn't feel like he's supported in certain aspects of his life, he may find a community that's not as great. And the hard part about the internet right now is they're very easy to find.
I seen that on like a different scale growing up. Is like a lot of my friends joined gangs. Like they were cool in elementary school, preschool. They're still cool. Just like you could see, and then towards the end of middle school, like their outfits started changing. Their smile went away. Like then by high school, their tattoos on their hands, and like then they're fighting all the time, and they'd be fighting their old friends, like because they decided to go to different gangs. And I'm like, ugh, dude, you got to pick sides, and that's when the tribalism is always going to be a thing, in this, that, and the other. I you know, it's just
for sure.
But yeah, it's just so wild to see what happens, and then usually hurt people attract other hurt people, and then fear mongering and everything else that our weird society is creating. Because like, you know, the algorithms and all these things are created by people and now machines that just understand psychology at it's so easy to get wrapped up. Like you look at comments, you look at whatever, and most people don't have the awareness to step away and like tell themselves like, hey, this is a planned thing. This is like a structured, it's like a created ecosystem. This is what they want, whoever they are. But you know, like they want the looks, the clicks, good or bad or the ugly. It's getting more content out there. So it's a numbers game.
And it's like, I kind of saw this a lot in politics. I kind of went through it myself. It's just like diving into everything and editing videos of all over the place and different people. It's easy to get this idea in your head that things are a lot worse for you personally. You know, I have my opinions about government and things like that and how bad things are. But like when it comes to your personal life, it's like you can't see, you know, everything terrible and be like, oh, this is, you know, I'm now going to be, you know, overly upset about everything. You know what I mean? And there's lots of things to be upset about, obviously, but you have to be able to like find some sort of personal happiness. And that's not going to come from your phone. That's not going to come from watching another video of somebody else getting, you know, hurt or something like that and desensitizing yourself to violence. Like you got to realize like the reality you have around you is what's mostly going to affect you. And, you know, put down your phone, figure out your reality, see who's around you, like deal with that. And that's going to have a lot more fulfillment and have a lot more impact on your life for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure most of us, it's so wild. Like you'll go to look at something on your phone. Next time you know your thumb clicked on social media, you've been there for 10 minutes and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just supposed to look at glutamine. Like I did that last night. I'm like, I forget the dosage that I need to take for this. So I'm added supplement back in. And the next thing I know, I'm like, you didn't even look at it. Like, what are you doing? Stop. You know, and especially I feel like in the morning, in the evening, or when you're not flowing, it just like, it pulls you in like TV or anything else. And next thing you know, you're like this unconscious version of yourself. Yeah. And you're just like,
it's so weird. It's like, you know, nowadays, you know, everybody's like, oh, I've got ADD, I've got ADHD. And I'm like, I don't know if we all suddenly develop that or if that's just how technology is created. It's so addicting. It's so scroll to the next video, scroll to the next video, scroll to the next one.
We're
And it's
also
like,
the kids to the generations, our grandparents and parents were the spawn of the sugar and cigarette propaganda.
Yep.
You know, so like that's where I think a lot of that may have started to trickle down into us as individuals.
Yeah.
You know, our moms were chewing on Tylenol when they're pregnant. That's all they you know, like,
that's why I turned out the way I did.
yeah, you're like, I'm doing great. Sponsored by Tylenol PM.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just, you know, the internet can be a really helpful. Obviously, a lot of people make good livings on the internet. A lot of people help a lot of people on the internet.
And they can't hide stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing.
Yes.
And
that is
it's such a
huge.
double-edged sword.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's a bell curve. But then
Yeah.
again, too, we don't know what 5G and having these cell phones are going to do in our 50s, 60s, and 70s. Like, you know, like cancers or whatever, it's going to be frying our cells and Wi-Fi. And
I talk about this all the time, but I think social media not ruined because it's obviously still there, but I think it was the biggest hit for Hollywood. Because back in the day when we were growing up, our movie stars, you saw them in the movie and then you saw them at an award show.
Yep.
And you thought they were some mystical being,
Yep.
you know what I mean? And then now social media, it's like we know
Too much.
every single thing about every single one of these people. And they become, not that it like it's, you know, because it's good to see these people as normal people, but a lot of them turn out to be not so great. And so it's like, you know, it kind of really took a hit on Hollywood when everybody's out there, you know, saying whatever they want to say, and everybody should, but it also, I think it's one of the things that took a big hit in Hollywood is we're like, oh, this is them in real life. This is cool. And then we're like, well, actually they're, you know, sitting in their $30 million mansion whining about something.
Yeah.
And that's not,
started taking it downhill when Paris Hilton was just doing those candid snapshots of her, her hoo-ha, her tootsie.
yeah, Tootsie. Yeah, can't say that. But yeah, no, I feel like it just you know kind of ruins that sometimes, and that's, you know, you can even see that with a lot of photographers. It was a big thing as well, as they would just share too much like personal information, and it's like, you know, you're a photographer, but you're also kind of a business as well, and there has to be a little bit of professionalism involved, and a lot of people did not, and would just like, you know, it's good to be personal, you know, I think, but there is a line, you know what I mean, of just like, because people don't have secrets anymore. That's the biggest thing, is like everybody's life is just so public. Everybody knows everything about everybody, and I'm a more secretive person. I don't post my things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I guess I'm not.
Yeah, as we're
Yeah, I
sitting
was
here
gonna say,
talking into
yeah,
a microphone, I'm so secret.
No, I was gonna say I'm the opposite. But there are things that you know, maybe not talk about on camera or things like that, or for certain people.
Right.
That was one of the reasons why once I got back into like this corporate America type of thing, working with a few companies over the last 2 years, I'm like, I forget, it can be not that like personal, like having a personal life is great. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But there's also like that like face value person and what you in not being able to be a genuine version of yourself, and I don't like that.
Yeah,
like
for
it's one
sure.
thing to have your personal life, and I get it. Like social media and stuff like that. There's plenty of times I'm out on like or at the farm or wherever, and I just forget about it, and that's the life. At the end of the day, if you can figure out how to make money and you don't have to be around a bunch of people all the time, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, because it's hard, and there's always then you have to like feed into it, you know, like there's always a new algorithm, there's always a new way to film, which is cool, but it's like right when we get used to the old way, it's like, these are too long, these are too short, these are too blue, these are too red.
Yeah, exactly. You know, things are going to change, but you know, I think building a personal life that you are like excited to go home to, you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people, they're very successful in business, and then a lot of that is because they're avoiding, you know, personal things in their life, and they're avoiding people and avoiding things. And like, you know, I enjoy my personal life. I like to go home. I like, you know, my house. And I think that's a lot of people are kind of missing that. They're finding that somewhere else. But if you kind of have, you know, build that personal life that you are proud of, then.
And surround yourself with the people that make you inspired, you know, like you, for me, even today on this podcast, I'm like As soon as I get out here, I'm booking a trip somewhere. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But it's just that, like, what is the life that you want, and actually go for it. Like, circling back around, like, I'm sure there's a point in your life where you're like we were talking about imposter syndrome. A couple years ago, I didn't think I was going to be doing this.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was so intimidating going on Josh Sanchez's first episode. I'm like, he's like, dude, you're going to do great. Just, like, it's intimidating. Not everybody can just do it. But going back to like owning an LLC, being a business owner, like, I'm sure there's a point in your life where you're scared to do it. Like, it's a big drop. It's deep water. You don't know if there's sharks in there.
Right.
So
no, that's there have been a lot of those times actually, and I'm sure all business owners kind of feel the same way. Is that what's, you make all the decisions. You're the one who's doing everything. Once tax season comes, you're the ones doing the taxes. You're the one,
sitting on the phone, waiting to hear from.
Exactly. And so there's just so many things where it's like, you don't have that structure. Sometimes that gets a little, that 9 to come in at 9, leave at 5, and you're, the weekends and stuff like that. And, we shoot a lot on the weekends and do that kind of stuff. And so it's just, there are times where it's like, dang, I could enjoy my Saturday if I was in an office somewhere, because I would be home for the weekend. But there's also a lot of joys that come from running a business. I would have never met the amount of people that I have. Never would have been able to do this.
Connections and just having that back in your back pocket, those resources. Like, it's awesome just to be like, oh, I know a guy or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Or and I catch myself, it's easy. I think that's one of the things. It's not even just people being happy. It's having gratitude and a peace of mind. You're going to run out of happy. You're going to run out of motivation. You're going to run out of all these things. But one of the number one things that you can like make sure that you have awareness on is like, I asked for this life. Like, when you're like, I got to do another edit, or I got to do this, I got to do that. This is the life I'm creating, and I asked for this. Like, coming to podcasts or doing whatever, driving across town. For you, driving an hour down here, or being here late and having to drive 3 hours back up, or whatever it takes,
Yeah.
But they're stepping stones into being able to live the life that we choose and being able to live on our own terms, which it means more to me than any 9 to 5, $200,000 a year job or something like that. Or I've been offered positions to be behind a camera, but it was like very, very clickbaity, like tag, like the cringy stuff. And I'm like, I want to be able to respect myself. And for me, I don't disrespect 9 to 5 people. We need them.
For sure.
Good for you. Do your thing. But I feel like most of them are unhappy too. They're not.
It's a little bit of a compromise. I feel like that they've, that a lot of people have to make in that situation is just like, okay, this may not be exactly what I want, but it's secure. And that's, something like that, some sort of compromise that they've had to make personally in order to do that. And that's just, I've always just wanted to kind of be my own boss. That's kind of what I've always just wanted to be. You know what I mean? It's not that I have a problem with a boss, but I've worked for a lot of different people, done a lot of different things, and still have to answer to people. I'm working with these companies, and technically, I guess they're my boss every time they hire me on.
But I like working with people instead of for people.
Right.
If you can do that,
because
there's, we have mutual partnerships, and I feel like that's it's so much more meaningful.
Yeah.
Or easier to deal with.
Yeah, for sure.
Potentially.
Yep. And the biggest thing I would just say with, all this and all these, a lot of different jobs, just like developing a good work ethic, just being being a hard worker. I think that's in a lot of these companies I've worked for, door to door, they all kind of say the same thing. Like, if you just go and work and you work hard, you're going to be successful. And I feel like, maybe we're losing that in some of our younger kids today. And I was working since I was 17. I was a milk delivery man. I'd go 2 nights a week in the middle of the night during school and, drop off milk at people's houses all through the night and
That's
sleep.
Interesting. That's
sleep
different.
for like, this is terrible. I'm also lactose intolerant, so that was kind of the joke.
Delivering stomach cramps, like
exactly.
Just like gurgling on the way there. No.
So it's like 2 a.m. Like on a Wednesday night, and I'm running back and forth to people's houses, giving and I hated it. You know what I mean? That was the worst job ever. Didn't really have much of a choice. I needed to have money at the time, but I am like so grateful I did that. Like so grateful, because that was every single night I was doing something that I for sure with all of my body did not want to do. And I did it for years. And so it was just one of those things. It's like, we're all going to have to go through. There's going to be, even if you're running a business that's your absolute dream, there are going to be things that are going to suck.
They're supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're supposed to suck bad with teeth suck. And not pleasurable.
Yeah.
Like, like it's supposed to be painful.
It's not great.
I remind myself, I'm like, man, that's why the fruit's so great. It's because like there's seasons. And you're not always going to be able to taste that. You have something over and over again, it loses its value.
Yeah, for sure.
Potentially. But that's where gratitude comes in. But yeah, it's trials and tribulations is what makes life worth living. And if you don't have that, you live underneath this artificial comfort blanket. And that's why everybody's all upset with life. They're like, I'm not feeling safe anymore. It's like, you're never safe. You just feel like it. We have a really good idea. I mean, we are for the most part, but at the same time, we're not.
Yeah.
And that goes with everything, business, anything. Like there's always something could happen.
Yep.
So.
Yep. You're not owed anything. Nobody owes you anything. No. The world doesn't owe you anything. It's just going to be what you're going to make of it. And that's, I feel like a lot of people get stuck in that. There's
like, consumers and creators.
I'm this. And so I deserve these things. And it's like a really hard reality that I think a lot of us need to know. And I say this from a very loving way. I love people and I love talking with people, but we're not really that special. There's a lot of us, you know what I mean? There's billions and billions of us here on this earth. We're not
even a freckle in the universe.
Yeah. And it's like you're an important person to where you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To your family, to your things around you, to your job. I'm not saying like you're not special. Don't, go sit out in the corner. But it's like, we're all people. We're all just people. You know what I mean? Where some of us have harder things to go through. Some of us have it a little bit easier. You know what I mean? But like at the end of the day, we're all just people trying to make it through. Nobody's owed anything.
Try to be grateful for the trials because then you're building a more dynamic human. And that's why, like I'm sure we've had business ventures and all these things that go sideways or whatever. And you're like, again, but it's like, brush yourself off. Most millionaires aren't there till they're 40.
Yeah. And that's another thing.
You didn't luck out on crypto, but you also didn't die in that plane you were just on.
Yeah, exactly. It's like as business owners, it's like, that's going to happen. You're going to have that client come in, you're going to work with them, and then they're going to dip and leave, and you're going to be like, what happened? And, maybe you did everything you were supposed to, but then, it's just like, okay, well,
just doesn't work out.
Let's go get another client, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's just kind of, that trial and error, being grateful for it, finding the connections in those moments as well. You know what I mean? Just always kind of trying to not gain from it, but I guess in a sense, better yourself for it.
Like that's why one of my favorite quotes for myself is the like gaining attributes, like whatever it takes. Like let's say if you're playing like a role playing or whatever, you're going through and you're gaining these skill points, and that's what it is in business and life. Like if you look, I like looking at life like that, like jujitsu or filming or being able to speak more in the camera or whatever it is. We all have these bumps in the road, and being able to overcome it. Or like me going out to Arkansas, shout out to Arkansas, but and my mom going through the issues with the hospital and things like that. I didn't know I was going out there for that, but it happened.
Yeah,
and the first couple days, 2 hours of sleep, that was hard.
Oh,
it was so hard, but I was able to navigate the waters, and I came out stronger on the other side, and so did everybody else. It's an opportunity if you don't crumble. If you ask God for heavier weights, try to handle them. Or if you believe in a higher power, we're on God's time,
right?
Not our timeline. We get what we need, not what we want.
Yeah. It's hard.
I don't need to step on Legos, but I don't think so, but I do.
Yeah.
I don't want it.
And that's, when you start asking for that, when you start inviting that kind of thing, like, oh, I want to be stronger, be better at this or do that, like you'll get it. And you may not realize that this is what it is at the time, but it's like, being grateful through those trials, being aware.
I was like making that joke this week too, because it's like, man, I'm like, I just want to do these things. I want to be successful in this, that, and the other. And like, God's like telling me, get back into coaching. And I'm like, but I want to do this. Just give me one sign. And it's like, he's like, coaching. And I'm like, give me anything. He's like, coaching. I'm like, anything.
Anything else?
He's like, coaching. And I'm like, anything. anything else. You know, it's like, just do the coaching right now.
It's like, I've already told you.
Yeah.
You know what to do.
You know, it's probably like, oh, just give me one big project. I just need a big project.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
no, you got to do these little projects right now for this.
Yeah.
No, just one. I'm open to it. It's like, I literally told you, no, it's,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah. All the time. All the time. But, you know, just working through it, man. Just trying to, you know, stay on top, trying to, you know, again, just keep building that life that you're proud of, you know, and that can be in all kinds of different ways. It's not necessarily a monetary thing. It's not a, you know, a financial thing. I think we can find, like, we can build a life that we're proud of without all that.
100%. Do you ever look back on situations, things, projects, any of that, and realize just how good it was and you couldn't see it?
Yeah, all the time. Going back to the editing, that's a large part of the video. And by the time I'm done spending hours and hours editing a video, usually I'm like, I am so sick of this. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that I've seen it 4 million times, you know what I mean? In every aspect of it. And so there's always times that I get done with it and I'm like, gosh, it just wasn't, you know, I'm so tired of it. I don't know what else to do, whatever. Send it back. They like it. And then I'll go back and look through some of my videos and be like, oh, that's not bad, actually.
Yeah. It's like even me with my podcast, the original episodes, I was listening back through some of them. I'm like, I'm getting inspired from this. Like the way I flowed and the different things. Apparently the quality was not great, but of the sound and everything, because I was just doing it at my house,
right,
or in the car or whatever, when I was inspired. Because I try to do that, like where you write something down and it just doesn't hit the same. Like I'm like, just get it out there,
right?
You know. But and that's another thing too, not having that professional ear or eye, because you'll hear things that I don't. Same thing with me watching people move in you know, for fitness, but yeah, you'll hear things that I don't hear. You'll even tell me what I'm supposed to hear, and I do not hear it. You're like, oh yeah, this is on there. I'm like, crazy.
Yeah.
But there was like professionals that own studios and things like that. They're like, dude, I want to listen to your podcast, but like your refrigerator's annoying the fuck out of me. I was like, you can hear that? And I still can't, like, you know, or there's like humming or this. Like I have really high quality headphones. Like I can hear everything.
Yeah.
It's like those things where you think of, but
yeah. And that's, you know, just comes to, you know, being critical towards yourself. You know, you start diving into everything and there's, you know, oh, this wasn't just, the sound wasn't exactly where I wanted it. I messed with it forever and couldn't quite get it. You know what I mean? And so, you know, you got to be critical, but you also gotta, you know, just do the best you can, honestly.
100%. And I was talking, so I went to the Stretch Lab, shout out to Dalton. He's just there in Riverton, and I was kind of talking to him about it because I seen things in him. I think he's super talented. He's good at what he does. He's a good coach, and I seen things in him that I was in my 20s. If I would have looked back at what I had, like getting 300 or 400 likes on a photo on Facebook, like 2010 or whatever, you know, it's like but I wasn't this. It wasn't that. So, you know, you're like, look back, I wish I could have told myself that. Like, it's like, damn, you don't see what you have. Like, it's always easy to compare and do these things. But another thing that it's like, oh man, if I could have just went back and told myself then what I know now. But it's like, but you're in the present moment. Why don't you do it now? Like if it's something that you didn't do, you know, like there's like, oh, I wish I would have bought a house in 2008 or whatever, you know, when I was in middle school. Like,
should have.
Or those things where you're like, oh, I wish I would have done this. It would have got me to here. But some of those times you're like, well, you still haven't done that thing then. Do it now. So 5 years later down the road, you're not going to have that same damn story. Like, I wish I would have started this then.
Just this constant, endless story of like, oh, should have done this, should have done this.
And maybe not everybody has that, but I feel like most people have that. And if it's like, if you have this story that's repetitive or just started, do it now. If you didn't do it yesterday, do it today. If you didn't do it 4 years ago, do it today. And that way you can stay in the present, and then there's not a 5-year version of yourself down the road that's like, I wish I would have done that on that day.
Yeah, just full of regret. You know, that's the one thing I you know, we're all gonna have regrets. We're all gonna do stupid things. We're all gonna, but you know, it's not dwelling on that. You know what I mean? Because you know, I could dwell on a lot of mistakes in my life and a lot of regrets and a lot of stupid things I've done in my life. But that doesn't really get us anywhere. It doesn't change anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't make the past any different. All it does is just weigh you down for the future. And that's, you know, that's a bad cycle to get in, because then you regret what you did when you were in the midst of regret, and then you didn't do anything, and then it's this cycle, and I regret this, and I regret how I acted to being, having regret, and it's just,
you're always living in the past and future and never in the present moment. And then can you imagine if you were doing that on these trips and stuff? One of the things I talk about my ex a lot, but I look at her as an avatar. It's not even just that she's my ex. I just call her Frankie, my friend Frankie. She's married and stuff now, but like friend Frankie, she brought this up to me and I loved it. Like, she's so aware for being in her 20s, and she's like, I try not to think about my trips coming up, because then I overanalyze and I have too much anticipation, and then it's usually when I'm on the trip, it's not as fruitful. It's not. I don't feel like is the joy that I would have. And I'm like, man, if more people, including myself, could do that in more aspects of life. You have a party, you have a thing. It's one thing if you have to like plan things around it, but to like over anticipate the thing, and then once you get it, that comes from like random hookups or whatever, food. You take a bite, you're chewing the bite, and you're looking at the next bite, and you can't even enjoy the one in your mouth because you're looking at the next bite of food. I feel like that's something it's getting worse and worse and worse into our culture.
Oh yeah, dude. And I find myself there all the time. I mean, I am a big overthinker, and my wife is too. So that's not a great combination.
It's a blessing and a curse, though. You get things done.
Yeah,
that's why I have a fanny pack, because I don't lose shit. I don't like doing that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I lose everything anyway. So that's just what it is. But I overthink all the time. Even dumb things that don't need to be thought. Even have any thought involved in them at all. It's just like, there's a family party coming up, and this and that, and it's like, why am I so worried? Who cares? What is my family going to disown me or something stupid?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
like
just like
unnecessary social anxiety. Talk about some first world problem.
I know. And it's just so dumb. It's just like, dude, you gotta, a lot of it goes back to just being grateful. You know what I mean? And just being like, this is just how it is. Not everything's going to be perfect, but
you don't know how much time you have.
Yeah.
Like going back to Arkansas, it's like making all that. I was getting frustrated, like me and my mom both were, you could tell. And it's like, this could, not saying I wish it, but what if this is the last time?
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah.
Or for me or her.
Right.
Like, make the best of it.
For sure.
Because you're going to regret ever not finding that connection. Figure it out. You're on lack of sleep. But ever since after that, like, it was easier to like stay in the control. It's not like we're throwing stuff at each other, screaming at each other, but both of us could tell that both of us weren't having a good time there. And it, it's, you never know.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah. And it's
so easy to get mixed up in your head.
Yeah, for sure. So when we moved out to Hawaii, I have my grandfather, very Italian, very, very tough love kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Does he do the hand thing?
Super deep. Man, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Always with a cigarette. And so, moving out to Hawaii. So we got married before we moved out to Hawaii, and he's very business, you know what I mean? He was the general manager of construction for Nucor Steel. He's built like more steel mills than anybody else in the world. And so very business guy, you know what I mean? And he was really upset because I took my fiance at the time to tell him that we're getting married, telling all my grandparents before they have to figure out through Facebook. And it wasn't a very good conversation. He was actually pretty upset that we were getting married and wanted us to go to school first and do all these other things and figure our lives out before we get married and all these things. And so it was just I was just kind of like, whatever, man, like kind of left on very not great terms. And so it was just kind of like the next couple of times, there was the time right before we moved out to Hawaii that I kind of felt it was just a different feeling. And I went and sat down with him and, fixed things the best we could, I guess, you know what I mean? And we had a really good conversation. And then he passed away while I was in Hawaii, and I never got to see him again. And so, yeah, you never really know. Sometimes, you get an opportunity like that and fix things and make things better. But, I just, it's one of those things like, dang, if I had just had more time, if I could have gone over one more additional time and, all these things. But you just got to kind of not treat every day like it's your last, because that can...
Yeah, you can be doing some wild shit.
Yeah. But
I try to think of what I would actually do.
Yeah.
But
just the relationships that, you know, and some people maybe, you know, maybe it's best they don't have relationships with certain people, but yeah, I think just kind of nurturing good relationships, because you don't know when
And
that
that's
could.
what it takes nurturing.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we all have shitty days. We all have egos,
For sure.
and it's easy to feel like a victim in certain things, especially if it's like triggering relationships, like family members, siblings, you know, spouse.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to get triggered by those situations.
And yeah, I used to get so frustrated with my family. It just like dumb things. It's just dumb family things that everybody goes through. And I get so frustrated. And this was kind of in my early 20s. And, you know, and I talk with it about my wife a lot, and I'm so frustrated. And now it's like, I don't care at all. And like, and my younger sister's kind of going through that same phase now. She's kind of in her younger 20s, and I can see her being more frustrated with everybody, because she's
like trying to push everybody away to be an adult.
yeah. I'm an adult now, and I'm married, and all this stuff.
I
and
pay taxes
everybody's
sometimes.
and I'm living a different life than everybody else. And it's like, you know, that's just how people are. Everybody's different. Everybody's, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that I have to sit here and stew about everything. They're not going to agree with me on everything. And, you know, that's just how it is. And now, you know, I talk with my mom pretty frequently, and we have conversations about all kinds of things that we don't agree with. And, you know, we'll go back and forth on it. And it's just, you know, there's nothing to really be frustrated about.
And being an adult, having the ability and the blessing to be able to talk to your parents as people, they start opening up to you a little more in most aspects. So me and my dad, like he's not somebody that usually asks my opinion on things, but now that I'm an adult and he sees the difference, like he asked me my opinion on a few things. So I was like, huh, that was cool.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like maybe
Start
there are
seeing
some
as-
parents it's a little harder, but
start to see them as people. Yeah. And that's been, one of the big blessings of getting older and having family around and stuff like that is, you know, and especially, you know, my dad, I almost didn't know my dad. My dad almost died of cancer, you know, and that was like I think my mom was pregnant with me when my dad had all of his surgeries and stuff like that. But, you know, and it's just like, I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful to have a dad, you know, I'm grateful to have people. I'm grateful to have, you know, a loving wife and family and stuff like that.
Dude,
that goes so far.
So far. I mean, that's what happened too with my my mom. She had a heart attack in 2006. So like I could have lost her too. So every day after that, I'm like, and she was allergic to the blood thinner. So she went into cardiac arrest and died for 3 seconds.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. They broke all her ribs to resuscitating her. No, I remember it being all her ribs, but it might not have been every single one of them, but it was like, she had a lot of broken ribs. She's all jacked up. Yeah. I'm like, damn.
Dude,
Same concept is like people get so much less time, you know, and even if you don't get along with them all the time, because like my therapist asked that one time, he's like, would you hang out with your family if you were related to them? And I was like, no, probably not. But now I respect, you know, like I look at that a little differently. I'm like, I think I would, you know, at least be around, like, because they have good conversation. They're smart people, but they probably ain't going to be the people you want to go hang out with if you didn't grow up with them.
Yeah. A lot of that's just appreciating who they are, appreciating them for the people that they are.
They did their best, you know, and
Yeah.
that's it. You know, that means something. There's plenty of parents out there that just didn't even become parents. Like they just left their kids, or they're just not there at all.
Right.
So if you have parents that put food on the table, and even if they yelled and stuff, if they tried, that's something. You just got to see who they are, you know, and they grew up around it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, that's. I mean, we grew up in, you know, on a farm, you know, in kind of the back in Morgan. I don't know if you know where that's at, up kind of by East Canyon. And, you know, it's kind of very simple, small life, growing up on the farm and stuff like that. And like, you know, there used to be times I was, you know, running milk. Oh, I'm so pissed. I got to go and get money so I can have money to fill my car up and stuff, you know, and I'm so mad and all these things. And I'm like, they were just doing the best they could, you know what I mean? And it was good. And it was very good. You know what I mean? I had a great childhood, you know, a lot of great things. And
now you
it's
look
just
back
like,
and you're like, who gets to be a milkman?
Yeah. I was like, I got to
cool.
go and like spend time on the farm. We raised pigs and cows, horses, and all this kind of stuff. And you know what I mean? And that's like, you got to find the good in a lot of that.
You were raised with these skills that could be necessary, you know, if shit hits the fan.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a
exactly.
lot of skills that most people never have.
Yeah, and like, you know, we always had. My dad's very, you know, he kind of grew up farming that whole town of Morgan. Our last name is like there's pretty much the whole town's related to me. And so, which makes dating hard when you're growing up, when everyone's kind of your cousin of some sort.
Yeah.
But, so, just very simple man, very simple farmer growing up. He built cabinets in a wood shop that was right next to our house. So it was just kind of, all right there, and grew a lot of our own food, hunted, big garden. So a lot of our vegetables and stuff like that. And I always hated doing stuff in the garden and weeding and doing all that stuff growing up. And now I'm like, how can I get that garden at my house right now?
Right.
Like,
now
I'm so jealous of his garden. I was just up at his house 2 weeks ago, my parents' house. And literally, I think I spent like 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the garden, just going around.
I see some weeds
I'm
out
in the
there.
garden. I'm like eating the peas, and
Yeah.
we're going looking at the pumpkins and all kinds of stuff, and all the squash and everything. And I was just like, dang.
More places you could take your shoes off, right?
What's up?
More places you can take your shoes off. That's a big
exactly.
one.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, barefoot. I love being barefoot. Just
Me too.
grounding. Being
Yeah.
on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny too because my parents were definitely shoes people. Not
Yeah.
my sister. My mom used to be very barefoot, but
Yeah.
it's very interesting to see the dynamic there because I'm like, because there's chiggers and ticks and things out there, and I'm like, guess I'm getting chiggers.
Yeah. It's part of it,
So,
man. It's part of growing up
I was
out
like,
there.
I just want to test it out. I'm walking around. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I had some thorns and stuff I had to get on my feet because Arkansas's ground is like, there's
Yeah.
thorns and stuff out there, but it's not just nice grass. But yeah, it was I love that. I love being able to ground, and that's just it too. Even with FFA and things I grew up with, and like my dad having me change the brakes on the car, doing oil changes at like 12, 13, 14. I'm like, we're helping him fix the sink or this or
Yeah.
that. And I was like, this is so stupid. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And now it's like a skill set that like people just don't have.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh, we can call a plumber. I'm like, plumber? Hold
Yeah.
on, give me a second. It's called a J trap. I got
Yeah.
this. It's something
Yeah.
silly, but people don't get it. They just don't have that skill set.
Yeah.
They don't have, and that's probably where your work ethic started. Like you were forced into it, but it worked out for you because that's what I did was blue collar jobs all my life up into my 20s when I moved out here, and I realized I'm like, wait, I could do things I want to do and get paid for way more.
Yeah.
And it's not pennies on the dollar. Okay.
Yeah, that was like, I always knew there was always that side of me that like, I'm building cabinets, doing all this, manual labor type of stuff. And I'm like, I want to work. I had an uncle who was really smart, worked in like IT and stuff like that. And I was always just like, I want to be like smart. I want to know that kind of thing. And so that's just, ever since I was a kid, I was the kid who was, doing all the stuff on the computer and pirating things and
My uncle,
doing all that.
the one that's out on the farm, Charlie, he was an Army Ranger and builds all kinds of crazy stuff. He's seen glitches in this video game he played, so he learned how to code the video game and then ended up working for the company while doing tree service work. He's just like, I always say I was like the Morty and he was like Rick. He'd like come into my room, he's like, all right, Justin, we're breeding chameleons now. What? Yeah, come outside.
No,
Yeah,
it's those are good skills to have. I think they're always gonna, they're always gonna come in handy. There's always something, and if you can learn those earlier.
And it can be
that's
good to
better.
have people that put you in a shadow, like don't live in it. Apparently, we have all these celebrities and people, they don't live up to their parents' expectations or whatever that is. And that's sad. But just being able to have these really intelligent people that in your life that you're like, oh man, I got to make something of myself. You ever heard of Hobson, the rapper? Illmind?
Illmind of Hobson. Yeah.
Dude, it was at Illmind 5 when he talks about like just playing beer pong, having no skills.
Yeah.
I'm like, at that point in my 20s, I was just working construction, felt dead end. I would play beer pong Thursday or whatever.
Yeah.
Early 20s. I was way too good at beer pong. It's just silly, stupid skill.
Yeah.
And you're never winning because you're always drunk.
Yeah.
And so it was just that. And then moving out here, I'd listen to that song and I'm like, fuck, I'd identify with that. And
Yeah.
like that's when I started reading more books and doing these things and like just starting to accumulate data and businesses and stuff like that. Because I'm sure too in your teens you might not have thought you were ever going. You might have wanted to do film and stuff, but like just thinking about owning a business isn't it usually everybody's wheelhouse.
Yeah. No, that definitely wasn't on my mind. Running milk. I had no idea that I would ever be
You just didn't want to do that,
owning
right?
a business. Yeah, exactly.
Or sometimes you just feel like you're gonna be stuck there. This is what I'm gonna be doing forever.
Yeah. That was a lot of it. I was just like, I'm financially was a lot on my own. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to be able to, go to college and start businesses and do stuff like that. You know what I mean? It was just like, I just never thought it would even be remotely possible for me. I just thought it would be, kind of that small town life for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, the older I get, the more I realize there's so many opportunities, not just to make money, but just like for, different things, different businesses, different ways you can help, different ways. I mean, there's jobs being created that have never existed before. One of them was like, we sell like photo presets. So people can just go download our photo presets, throw them on top of their photos and do that. And, it's been really great. But then I was just like, well, there's a lot of photographers who also want to sell theirs. So why don't I just start helping people sell theirs? You know what I mean? And so it's just like, I was like, I never even thought of that. Yeah. And so I would just go and like, just be like,
an Etsy kind of deal.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it was Gumroad is what it's called.
Okay.
And
you told me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Gumroad has like, the best percentages and stuff like that you get to keep. And so, yeah, I would just be like, hey, you're not quite sure how to do it. Let me set it up for you. I'll give you, frequently asked questions type of thing. Here's a couple of videos, like tutorial videos, if you want to go and upload a new one yourself, but I'll get your whole thing set up for you. So all you got to do is send me your presets and, you've got a store ready to go. And so, there's just opportunities like that all the time, but it's like finding a way to help, I think was the big thing. It's just like, if you can find a way to help and fill some of these gaps, you're going to stay ahead of a lot of industries, because that's what people need.
That's huge. And then, just staying 1 foot in front of the curve. Everybody wants handmade crafts and stuff like that, but too many people just get stuck in what they know, and then it fades out. They blame everybody else.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, yeah.
In closing, what are 3 things that you'd like to tell the audience or give the audience some advice on, either for business, personal life, or just some of the tidbits that you've created and cultivated over your lifetime?
Yep. Kind of talking about stuff we've already talked about a little bit is like you're talking about earlier, be kind to people. I think that's huge for just so many different things, not just so you can get ahead and have more money and have a bigger business and do better. Like there's just so many meaningful moments in my life that have come from just being kind to people. And I think that's huge. I mean, I think there needs to be way more of that in our world today. It's just people being kind to one another. And yeah, maybe, we don't see eye to eye on this thing, but I'm not going to beat you over the head for it. You know what I mean? Second one, I would say keep learning and learn how to, I don't want to say learn how to learn, but there's a lot of
apps
people
for it.
Yeah. There's people that, Googling, maybe a little less relevant now because ChatGPT and stuff like that, but like how to Google and what to Google, that's a skill in itself. Finding out information, knowing what to Google. Like whenever my wife needs something Googled, she's like, how would you say this to get like the best information? And I'm like, oh, well, you got to do this. And so that's how, I've a lot of my career and skills have just been like, oh, there's this thing I can do with a video. What's that called? Oh, that's what that called? Okay, now I got to go learn what that is and how people do it. And it started off with, I didn't even know this thing existed or what it was called. And now I'm, learning the in-depth parts of it and stuff like that. Not to be like too generic or whatever, but just being grateful for what you have. I think we are, stuck in a society that's constantly pushing more and more and more and more and faster and get it on Temu. So it's, it's fast and quick and this and that, everything you could possibly need. And, this has been kind of the where I'm at in my life right now is just like finding a lot of gratitude. We've been able to travel. We bought a home before COVID. I'm so grateful that we have a home right now. And there's just a lot of people who are, not going to be ever in that situation, owning a home and things like that. And so, yeah, gratitude. You know, I've been down on my luck, and it felt like I'm down on my luck. Things are really fine, but I just kind of felt like I was, oh, I'm so sad, depressed.
You know, like Viktor Frankl says, your level 10's your level 10.
Yeah.
It's just what you experience, what you feel.
Right.
Like it's still 10.
Mm-hmm. And so, but yeah, going back to just like, oh, like I do have, somebody at home that loves me. I do have a home. I've got, we've got a pretty good life. It may not be, I may not be producing comedy special for somebody or producing this mess. Yeah. But it's like, I'm just grateful for the people I've met. That sounds really cliche. A lot of businesses say that, a lot of, things, but like when you actually do take a step back and you're like, wow, this is pretty good. I got to pull my head out of my phone and, realize that this isn't the world. Cause I follow a lot of political stuff, and it's very rarely like, oh, look at this uplifting political story. Like it's never that. It's like, here's this person and they're terrible.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, everything's so corrupt. Everything's so bad. We're so
watch
screwed.
a puppy video.
I'm in so much trouble. Like the future of my children and their children, what is this going to be? And all these people. And I'm like, whatever,
Does he drive up to the garden in Morgan, right?
Yeah. And then I go up there and
your phone
the air feels, better. And it's just like, yeah, you just get to, and there's some troubles with going back home, in certain things, in certain areas, but ultimately, like you got to be grateful for what you have. You 100%. Got to. That's the only way to go forward in life. Like I truly believe that. So,
yeah. Well, thank you, Travis, for everything you always do. I'm grateful, eternally grateful. I love to partner up with you on the podcast, the studio, and everything else we have going on. Hopefully we turn this into $1 million studio.
We're doing it.
We're on our way.
We're doing it.
But thanks for filling in. We'll do more of these throughout. I'm sure people will love this. I think this was a great podcast. But
yeah. We'll figure it out so I don't have to sit in my producer corner, dark, scary corner.
I'm looking right now at like what the shadows look like. And I know you're probably like,
whatever.
It works. It works. And apparently there's always something we could do better. But
if you don't like how I look, just
close your eyes.
Turn the video off. Just listen to the audio.
Hopefully people don't care that much. No, I think it's the content and if they're just listening, they'll get it. But anyways, I wanted to let you guys know I believe in each and every one of you, but just remember to believe in yourself. And we got to get outside, enjoy yourself, and stay out of our minds. Have a good day, everybody.